And we are live. Hit the like button, comment below, share, hit the subscribe button. It's your host, F Merritt, Pound for Pound Boxing Channel. We got the boxing source in the building right now. What's up, good brother?
Oh man, I'm all good, man. I'm all good. What's happening?
Just chilling, man. Let's talk some boxing, man. First up, Errol Spence. No, let's not start there. Where we want to start it? Let's start at Manny Pacquiao being the champion in recess for the WBA belt, and Ugas being elevated to super. What do you think about that?
Oof, all right. Man, that's a lot. That's big news.
Mm-hmm.
WBA, posted that announcement saying that Pacquiao's the champion in the recess and your Dennis Ugas is the WBA super champion. And the way that the WBA worded it was that they kind of like went by their rules and stuff like that. And I went, kind of like checked those out. And they said, like, okay, super champion has this obligation and that obligation. And that if he has like any activity due to various reasons, he's a champion in recess.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they worded the announcement was that they kind of like made it to where they wanted Manny Pacquiao to defend against your Dennis Ugas, like he defended, or like you had, Thurman defend against Pacquiao.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted that same situation. It seems like, and with Manny Pacquiao, it's like if he's not going to unify or do anything like that, then that would have been the next option for him. And we know about his potential match against Ryan Garcia. And really, that really doesn't need a belt. But kind of like making Ugas the WBA super champion kind of throws off the plans of two particular fighters in the welterweight division.
And we're gonna get to that because that's a whole other conversation right there. But me personally, I'm okay with it. Just the fact that Pacquiao's old as hell. But at the same time, what was the point of you getting in the ring with Errol Spence saying, yeah, sure, I'll fight you, and then going and fighting Keith Thurman? What's the point of you getting on Twitter and tagging Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence in certain, various posts? Well, you're not going to fight them. What's the point of doing all of that? Like you knew you weren't going to fight them from the get-go. And then this imaginary fight that Bob Arum said he had done for Terrence Crawford in the Middle East. You know what I'm saying? Which is the second time that he couldn't get a Pacquiao fight. Meanwhile, Ryan Garcia could just swoop in and get the deal done, supposedly. Which I honestly don't think that fight will even happen. I think it's all clout chasing. You know what I'm saying? I just go ahead and retire, Pacquiao. You have nothing left to prove. Not to mention, what was it? Boxing's only eight-time eight-weight division champion. He's never unified. So what makes people think he's going to unify now?
Yeah, he's never unified. He's tried a couple times and failed.
This man has had 57 WBO belts, 37,000 Bob belts.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And you've never unified. I knew that you're not going to fight the threats. You're going to fight. Why would you fight Ryan Garcia? Just somebody make that. That don't make any sense to me.
Well, I think with one of the people that we, work around with or talk with, Jamil of YSM Sports, and we kind of like said, just get in there and make the money with the least risk. He's already done what he could do up to 41, 42 years old. He's, still, doing this thing over in the Philippines with the Senate over there. And right now at this point, going up against a guy that's at 135 pounds, that's, least amount of risk. But if you have enough buzz, then you could get a whole lot of money off of that. I mean, his last guarantee was $10 million for Thurman. Mm-hmm. So he could probably get that, or depending on how they pull it, he probably could get a little bit more money than $10 million for that fight. So
he's the
still up in the air, but I mean,
You couldn't
I
fight.
just think that it does kind of open the door for a fight against Ryan Garcia because now he doesn't have an obligation with the WBA title to either unify or fight against the WBA regular champion, which is interesting with Ugas because Ugas just won the belt in September.
Mm-hmm. This is my question though. This is how in my mind, I don't think this fight's even going to happen. It's all a bunch of clout. Pacquiao's probably going to retire. First of all, he's over there in the Philippines trying to be the governor or whatever it's called. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what he's got going. The senator. He's already a senator, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's trying to be the governor or whatever. That's cool. All respect to him. We got COVID going on. Okay, a lot of countries are shut down. Is Pacquiao is he in America or is he over there? Because if he's over here, cool, we can make the fight happen. Put it in Texas, put it in Florida, something like that. But if you're over there, I don't see Ryan going over there or him being able to come over here. You feel what I'm saying? So that's another reason why I don't think the fight's going to happen. Number two, like, why are you fighting? You don't have enough money? You still got tax issues?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Damn. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised.
That means you probably going to have to come back and keep on fighting exhibitions or something, bro. Like, what are we doing?
Would not be. I mean, that's kind of what, I felt like kept him on here up to this particular point was that he was still, trying to catch up on money and things like that. And the thing is like a lot of times with him coming over here, even when he has those big type fights or big level fights, he still has to pay a lot of taxes off of that. So while he may be pulling like 10 million or whatever it is, or how much he got for the Mayweather fight, he's still paying a lot off taxes. So
well, you know what the bigger problem is? I mean, he's getting taxed from America and the Philippines, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's even more of a reason for him to have left Bob a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? Now you got to pay two governments and you got to give Bob a cut. Like, come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Mayweather already showed y'all the way with Bob. He gets you to a certain point and then you got to go to the next level. Pacquiao could have had so much more millions of dollars. I see him online. He's very generous. He takes care of his people. You know what I'm saying? He gives out money to make sure everybody's taken care of, and it's all respect to him. But dude, I don't want to see a broken down fighter. I don't. That is the most depressing thing to me. He's giving everything to this sport, But speaking of Ryan Garcia, though, we're gonna move on to Ryan Garcia. He signed an endorsement deal with Gatorade. What do you think about that?
Damn. Well, Gatorade is Gatorade. I don't really roll with Gatorade all too much. I mean, we know how big it is as a brand. It's almost, like, the Nike of sports drinks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good for them. But, if it's a pretty good or pretty lucrative deal, it may just go or attest to the amount of drawing power he may have. So I think it kind of goes to that whole social media marketing or branding that's happening now, because product placement and sponsorships are a lot, especially if you have the audience to spread your product out to. So if he's doing this thing and he got maybe a Nike sweatshirt or sweat thing going and drinking Gatorade, that's a lot of product placement that has the eyes of millions of people. So that's a big move for him and for Gatorade.
And that's part of what I was trying to tell my homeboy earlier, right? I was trying to tell Jamil this earlier, and I'm sure he we talking about a lot of various things, but to me, Ryan Garcia doing that, it's a big deal. He's right now he's the B side. Hypothetically, if he was to fight Gervonta Tank Davis, he's obviously the B side, right? But when he gets that Gatorade deal, he becomes more of a household name. He's already got millions of followers on social media. This is what I like to say about a lot of other fighters in this game. You have to do more than just fight. You can't just fight, disappear, and then come back and expect to do phenomenal views. No, you got to stay as a household name, stay in the public's eyes, get endorsements. If they're available to you or not, you got to seek them out. You know what I'm saying? This is how you become the A side. Just because you're a pay-per-view fighter doesn't mean you're big. You doing 200,000-300,000. That's nothing. We trying to get at least 1 million. You know what I'm saying? And doing that, you get what Burger King commercials, Gatorade commercials. Listen, Oscar is going to take Ryan Garcia to the next level. I'm trying to tell you, and I don't even like Oscar as a promoter, but as a fighter, you can't deny that man. He's a legend. But I think he's going to do Ryan Garcia right because Ryan understands how to master the internet. He understands how to stand next to celebrities, you know what I'm saying? Be with the Jake Paul and Logan Paul guys. And, you know what I'm saying? He's always in the face. He has the look. He's cool. I ain't got no problem with him at all as a person, just fighter. You know, he's not really fighting the best opposition. But if you think he was protected before, imagine him with endorsements. He's going to be super protective and he's going to look phenomenal fighting. So if you guys were to try to get him, it should have been now with Tank and Mayweather. They should have tried to get him now and get him out the way because he's about to be the biggest A side in the world.
And that's going to be crazy because he might be able to do that and not even have a title or not even fight for a world title yet.
You see how they did him. You see how they did him when Devin Haney was ringside. The zone commentary was like, "Oh well, he doesn't need a belt. He doesn't need to fight for Devin Haney's belt." So like, come on, bro.
Yep.
And that's why I'm like, he's about to be a monster. You see how Oscar De La Hoya protected Canelo, catch weights, you know, rehydration clauses, this, that, third. Like Ryan Garcia gonna be super protective.
Yep. Like, and I be able to go back and forth, you know, within 135 and 140, and you know have those type of fights. But you know, like I said, it really depends on what happens with him next because, like, I really was not into or buying into him fighting Tank Davis. I was because I never really felt like he would want to go into the ring or step in the ring with somebody that has the potential of like really checking him out of the ring or having himself carried out the ring. So
hypothetically,
see that fight.
Hypothetically, if he doesn't get the Pacquiao fight, I think we're probably going to agree. But who do you think is next for Ryan Garcia?
The fight that he was originally scheduled to have before the lockdown, and that's basically Jorge Linares. I just didn't see him having a big fight coming up because I just didn't see Oscar putting him in that position quite yet. So it was going to be Linares before the lockdown thing, and then Linares ended up getting COVID anyway. So that fight was out at least for last year. So now they're going to try to make it up for this year. And that might be good for Linares because that means he might get a little bit more money off of this fight than he would have originally. So
absolutely, more eyes on the fight now.
Yep.
But I mean, I think it's great for Ryan. You know, Linares is a respectable name. You know, he's a common opponent with Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? He's the man to put Lomachenko down. So if Ryan can, you know, get him up out of there.
He's the man to beat. He beat Luke Campbell.
Exactly. I like that. That's a good fight. I like that. I like that fight for Ryan. I wish he would have got the Tank fight. Tank should have got that fight. I knew it was going to happen because it was too much. Oh, we're going to make the deal happen. And then Ryan said 2 rounds, I'm knocking you out. I'm like, dude, This is how I know this is too fake to me. Like, I understand y'all clout chasing, but y'all making it real obvious.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of like goes by the saying, the more that they talk about the fight, the more that it's not going to happen.
Facts. And then you just come out of nowhere with Pacquiao, like, what?
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, this is so far left. They might have paid Pacquiao just to, he ain't even say, let's be real, Pacquiao hasn't even said anything about it.
Yeah, and I was thinking about his former advisor, Michael Kantz, and I was going to be like, had Kantz said anything? But Kantz ain't with him anymore. So I was like, okay, I ain't seeing anything from the people around Pacquiao saying much about it. So if that's the case, then nope. So I was like, yeah.
They might have sent him a check. Might have sent him a check and be like, hey, we're going to clout, use your name a little bit. Don't even say nothing. Don't worry about it. Here you go.
Yeah.
Because Ryan is just
going to boost Ryan up,
Exactly. But I mean, as far as the endorsement deal, I think it's a good move for Ryan Garcia. This should motivate other fighters to get endorsement deals. And honestly, with the sanctioning bodies, when you win a champion, we have to put more respect and more emphasis on getting a belt. Nowadays, everybody's got a belt, but it needs to be certain perks with becoming a champion. You know what I'm saying? Let's add some sponsorships to the champions. I mean, to the belts. You win a belt, okay? I'm getting Burger King commercials. I'm getting Gatorade. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do something special for that. Like, let's get these guys even bigger. Because the more money that these fighters make, the more money the sanctioning bodies get. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, but that's crazy with the sanctioning bodies because that turns right back on Pacquiao. Like if they say that Pacquiao's champion in recess and they don't feel like he's going to be active, then you're going to have your Dennis Ugas in the fight where he's going to pull in like 1/10 of the amount of fees that you would have got for fighting Manny Pacquiao. So
true.
I mean,
And that's gonna bring us to our next subject with Ugas and Errol Spence on Twitter saying that they want to fight each other for a 3-belt unification. Now with the WBA not stripping Manny Pacquiao, making him champion of recess, I think they're looking at it like, listen, we're not getting no money off of him right now because he's not fighting. So let's give Ugas the belt. That way he's gonna fight Errol Spence. We can get a percentage of that because that's a big fight. And then if Pacquiao, if he does want to fight, we still get a percentage out of that. You know what I'm saying? Him and Ryan Garcia fight, cool. We ain't got no problems.
Yeah, but I kind of find that interesting too because like I said, they made Ugas a regular champ when he fought that Ramos guy, Abel Ramos, and when they had stripped the fight, the belt from Vesputin, they had the rankings out and Mikey Garcia was in those rankings. And actually at that point, he had already had a win in February, against Jesse Vargas. So I just kind of found it interesting that they wouldn't go ahead and try and name Ugas going up against, Mikey Garcia for that vacant title because Mikey Garcia is still in those rankings. And, well, they didn't name, they didn't make a vacant belt between Ugas and Mikey Garcia. And now it just seems like, hey, they're going to go forward with the potential bout between Spence and your Dennis Ugas. And that means that, Mikey Garcia is out of the picture.
It could be. But then he could also go get that Terrence Crawford fight if Keith Thurman.
That was up in the air. But the thing that I'm concerned about with Mikey Garcia is, and I've said this a few times, this is the same Mikey Garcia that was able to go from 135. Well, he was at 140 for one fight, but 135 to 147, fights Errol Spence, basically gets shut out, was inactive for an entire year, and still was able to negotiate a fight for $7 million to fight Jesse Vargas. So from a business standpoint, for Mikey Garcia to fight Terrence Crawford, it would take a little bit of coin, and we know what Bob Arum was talking about, and which kind of is a turnoff for a lot of things. So a potential Mikey Garcia Terrence Crawford fight, as big as that could be, I just don't see it happening because of the price tag.
I'm with you. I mean, it's all about, I don't know how they're going to do this because you got a promoter that doesn't want to pay anybody. But then I look at Mikey Garcia getting on social media, kind of, shitting on Bob Arum, like kind of just piggybacking off of Keith Thurman. I'm like, wait a minute, where's this coming from? That's why I'm like,
well, the thing with Mikey Garcia goes with, him, formerly being with Top Rank, and then the whole thing with the contract kind of being messed up, and then he just froze Mikey Garcia for 2 years.
Yeah. And I understand the animosity. I'm not mad at that, but I'm just thinking about the timing of it. Because I believe, I don't know what fight it was. I seen Mikey sit next to Bob Arum ringside at a fight. They were talking and trying to negotiate. I'm looking like, why would you even want to try to do business with a dude that did that to you for 2 years?
Yeah.
So I guess money solves everything, I guess.
It can, but it has to be the right amount of money.
So if Ugas fights Errol Spence, now let's be real. It's a pandemic. Fans is limited. I'm sure they want, like for Undisputed, they want full capacity for these type of super fights, mega fights. Okay, I understand. I'm pretty sure you understand. we're not going to get the super big mega fights here, not yet. So with that being said, Errol Spence fighting Ugas, which is a very affordable and easy fight to make on PBC. What is Terrence Crawford going to do? He's fought the Americans. He's fought the Kell Brooks. He's fought the Green Machine. Who do you fight?
Yeah, his last series, I mean, you got Kell Brook, you got, Kavaliauskas, you got Amir Khan, you got Jose Benavidez Jr., you had the thing with Jeff Horn. So, yeah, there really isn't much else left. You have one of our guys that we talk with talking about Crawford could end up fighting Vesputin, but I'm just not sure about how this thing is going to work out with Top Rank. If he has a minimum guarantee of $4 million, then you have to spend a minimum of 5 up in order to host a fight for Terrence Crawford on Top Rank. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, why don't you try and push for one of those things over in Texas or over in Florida or something like that, where you could get a gate, get gate revenue off of that, so that if you really have that issue with Terrence Crawford, try to just get that one fight out of the way and stop wasting everyone's time.
Now, what you saying, get that one fight out the way, do you put him in there and pay Sean Porter? Do you pay the little guys, the no names, or do you just let Terrence Crawford go? Give him a chance to buy.
It should be easier to let him go. I mean, I told Bomac, I'm like, you might as well just free Terrence Crawford. If you have supposedly the biggest fighter in the sport, be able to get out of this contract and become a free agent, then you got to be able to, have something with Terrence Crawford getting out of his contract. Shoot. Floyd Mayweather got out of his contract with Bob Arum for $8 million.
Mm-hmm. Everybody leaves Bob. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody.
Everybody ends up leaving Bob.
But apparently, Terrence Crawford doesn't understand.
Herman said, Manny Pacquiao left your ass. Miguel Cotto left your ass. Oscar De La Hoya left your ass. Like, all of them.
Then why does Terrence Crawford want to stay? What are you scared of? Not to say he's scared of the fighters, but I'm like, everybody.
There's no real incentive for him at his particular status to stick with Bob Arum and Top Rank. There's nothing for him to do, and I don't understand how. I'm like a journalist and things like that, but there's some people that are boxing fans that say, that Errol Spence is reluctant to fight Terrence Crawford, but they don't listen to what Terrence Crawford and Bob Arum say. Mm-hmm. Like Terrence Crawford said last year, he is like, listen, we know that fight is a very big fight, but right now, at that time, which was February of last year, that the fight didn't make sense or make financial sense. So if the fight makes sense, then it's going to happen. Those were his words. So if at that particular point, they couldn't negotiate anything to where it financially works out for both parties, then it's not going to happen. And as long as he's with Top Rank, it's not going to happen.
Okay. 2 things for me. I think the fight, Bud and Spence, is not going to happen unless it's on PBC. Because if I'm out Heyman, why would I want to do business with Bob when I can just wait for his contract to be up and then let him come over here and we can get all this money in-house?
Exactly.
And then number 2, I think that's what Bob's Bob just wanted to get that WBO belt to Bud, let Spence do all the heavy lifting, and because he already knew everybody was going to run out of opponents, and then they're going to have to make the fight. That way he gets his cut. He probably didn't care if his guy wins or loses. He understands the process of undisputed. You get the belts, then you disperse them, and we start the whole process all over again. But as long as I get my cut, I'm good. But now it's looking like I may not be able to get my cut. I'm losing money off of this guy, and his contract is almost up.
Mm-hmm. Like the thing with Bob Arum, he's about to have the super lightweight thing again.
Mm-hmm.
With Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, and that's going to be on May 8th. But when it comes to this welterweight thing, like he sets Crawford up to get the WBO belt, but after that, he can't really get him a fight edgewise against anyone with of note, in the welterweight division, and that's a sad state of affairs. But
what did Keith Thurman say? He said you can't afford to pay a PBC fighter.
yep,
You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we're getting paid different, than from what people are saying. You're used to here goes 2 million. No, we know all of the financial information. I want all of the money. You can't.
They get everything. They get more. They get more leeway, and they have more control because actually they put in a little bit more, or they're like they don't have to, or they get like more of a percentage off the revenue that they did before. Like either they invest in it or they work out another deal where like other people are not getting as much of a percentage or out of the way, completely. So that's why a lot of them go with, PBC, while like a lot of the fighters don't really show the numbers up front as far as the purses are concerned, but they get more off the back end because they're involved or have their name on other things involved with the event. So that's how they do it.
I'm just Bob has to do something. He's got to do something just for Top Rank overall. Look at everything. Lomachenko lost. That was one of your cash cows, right? The Matrix. Everybody was going crazy. You know what I'm saying? No, not technically. They were trying to make him into a super.
They were trying to, but it wasn't working.
Well, I mean, then it has to be something. I mean, look at how they promote the fights. They wait for like the week of the fight week to even start promoting the fight, and then get mad about the views. I think they're on ESPN, and that's a good thing. But I think they can do a better job of promoting their fighters individually.
Yeah, they can individually. I think they just, bank on the confidence of being on the ESPN, but that's not enough. As far as like coverage or allowing people to cover stuff one way or another, they're pretty good with that. But as far as like promoting their fighters, it's, a real stretch. And it's kind of, bad because of, some of the fighters that are under Top Rank. I mean, we like, or we, communicate with. So it's like, how are you not able to push these guys, so that they're able to get the amount of attention that they should be getting? Something's not right, because you're working as a promoter, you're working for the fighter. The fighter doesn't work for you.
That's where I think Bob has it messed up. But then again, it's like, okay, look at all of the fighters that Top Rank has as far as the big names. Terrence Crawford, apparently he can't sell. He doesn't like doing interviews. There's always, excuse. He's, Bob Arum's losing money. Lomachenko, we've been trying to make him big. We can't do it. Tyson Fury is a big name, but when you put him in Vegas for 2 fights, he can't sell. You feel what I'm saying? These are the guys that you throwing out big money to. I'm just looking at Top Rank a little funny. It's something you guys are doing wrong. Something I can't figure out. All I know is when Top Rank has a big fight, it's not a spectacle. That's why they don't even want to do ESPN pay-per-views anymore. But when PBC does a pay-per-view, it's a spectacle. They got the stadium rocking. Not the stadium, but they got the arena rocking. Everybody's ready to go. It's a good fight. The better fighters are on PBC. In my opinion, I'll take it back.
Right now, if you look at Top Rank, and you go through, some of the divisions, even if you go from, I'd even say 126, and you talk about guys that are not necessarily promoted well, I'll just go to 126 and 130. They have a bunch of fighters the 130-pound division under Top Rank. You got Burt Shelton Valdez. You got Shakur Stevenson. You got Jamel Herring. You got Vasyl Lomachenko floating there at 130 and 135. And you mean to tell me that you can't really build off of those guys or anyone off of 135 with Teofimo Lopez or, 140, you can't get momentum off of Jose Ramirez, or you got to rely on the UK and where Josh Taylor's from? Like, that means you're not doing your job as a promoter to push these fighters out to the public. Like, shouldn't really be the boxer's job. The boxers go in the ring, they go in the gym, they work, they train. Mm-hmm. They ain't really supposed to promote. If they promote, then they got to get much more money off of that. If they don't, then they're in the wrong, they're with the wrong group.
Certain people, though, I understand. Like, how can I promote this guy if he doesn't talk? He doesn't like to do interviews. He doesn't get on people's show. He doesn't call fighters out. That's what a lot of their fighters do. They always say, "Oh, we'll just talk to my promoter," and be like, "Man, I ain't got time for that, dude." Yeah. You need to be fighting.
Particularly with Terrence Crawford, because ever since March of last year, I've been trying to get an interview with Terrence Crawford, and I've been trying to contact Julie for almost that amount of time. No dice, but yet I'm able to talk with his trainer multiple times.
See, well, I hope Bomac, I hope he can.
Just about everybody around that team I've been able to talk with. Bomac, Jamel Herring, and Steven Nelson. But
except Bud.
Not Bud Crawford. Nope.
That's gonna catch up to him. That's why a lot of people dislike him and are very biased when it comes to him and Errol Spence fighting each other. And I'm not with that bias stuff, but dude, we talking about you. We're promoting you better than your own promoters doing. Mm-hmm. You really think about it. We the ones making the videos. We're making you hot out here. Now, of course, you make yourself hot because you're the fighter. But at the end of the day, Bob ain't out here doing this. Bob ain't putting in no work to promote you, to talk about how good your skills are. Bob is over there in the corner. I'm losing money. He don't care about you, bro.
Oh my goodness! Now, I could make $4 million and get a house out there in California, but I'm wasting my time and my money with Terrence Bud Crawford. I know I said
exactly
that I was gonna have a fight with him and Manny Pacquiao over in Saudi Arabia, but today I'm lying. I'm not telling the truth. I'm lying.
Stay lying. But this is my thing. If you can't make no money off of him, let him go. Why are you holding on to him? Why do you want to hold on to him for this last fight? He can go fight Sean Porter on PBC, and he's gonna get the money that he's gonna get paid. Everybody's gonna get paid.
Everybody's gonna get paid.
And if I'm Shakur Stevenson and all these other little fighters coming up, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at how they treating Bud, who's put the work in for Top Rank. I'm looking at look at Shakur. Look how he's been treated. He's been calling out Oscar Valdez for 2 years, two divisions.
Yeah,
he was supposed to fight Jamel Herring for the WBO belt, and you put Carl Frampton in front of him. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know how the rule is. You go up at WBO. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that situation with Herring, they could have had that Carl Frampton fight. Mm-hmm. The thing with Herring was, and he's kind of like bounced back and forth between PBC and Top Rank. But at least, with Top Rank, he was able to get that opportunity to win the WBO title and get it. Mm-hmm. But after the whole thing with the lockdown, he was supposed to have his fight with the Kendo. I think it was July, and then they had the whole testing fiasco with him because he had basically a false positive. Mm-hmm. And then they tried to reschedule him again, and then he didn't even fly out to Vegas because he was like the only one in his whole camp to test positive. Only one in the camp. And they rescheduled it again. And then by the time he had his fight, it was September. So if he would have had his fight with Kendo as originally scheduled, they would have likely had his fight against Frampton by December. And that was when I guess the WBO said, "Oh, we were supposed to have this fight. He's granted another voluntary defense and fight Carl Frampton as long as he fights Stevenson by March." But with that whole back and forth fiasco with this fight with the Kendo, he couldn't really have that turnaround and fight Carl Frampton, especially when you got to go through, two different countries and all that other visa stuff and whatever. So they're like, that's why it's like February 27th. Let's get this fight going. Let's get it over with. And then after that, then you can have the Stevenson fight. So.
Well, see, that's what the problem is, though. A lot of people don't respect. They think Stevenson has skills, but he hasn't fought anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I get it. I mean, I think he gets a pass because he looks so young. Out of like the new class of fighters, 130, 135, like people think he's like the youngest. I forgot how old he was. I forgot that Devin Haney was younger than him.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I thought Devin Haney was older than him.
And I gotta like catch up with some of the, folks around here, because like a while ago, they were like saying like Shakur Stevenson is like the guy, like they're talking about those 4 fighters at 135, and then they want to add them in. But going by the peers here in this area, they don't really kind of talk like Stevenson is someone that stands out, like how Errol Spence stood out years ago. Like they don't say that about Shakur Stevenson, which is interesting. But like if he's supposed to be, that guy, then okay, why isn't he, having those type of fights that are supposed to be, step ups in competition much sooner in his career than other people do? It's got to be something up with that.
I mean, he did let go of Andre Ward. I still don't know the reason for that, but that could have possibly been a reason. He wants to step up fights. He wants the big fights, and Andre's probably telling him, "Hey, listen, slow down."
Maybe that was it when it came to the that situation with him and Warrington, because Warrington was all for it, and then it was like Stevenson's camp that like kind of nixed it. Well, Ward kind of nixed it, but like people were thinking it was Warrington, but Andre Ward said, not now. This is not necessarily the time for it. So, I mean, that's kind of like where Andre Ward got released. So now, Stevenson saying like, hey, I want to have this. I want to have this fight against the winner of Herring against Frampton, and then after that, I want the winner of Burchelt and Valdez. So this is where he's like saying, okay, I feel like I should be able to get these fights, ASAP. So we'll see.
And I think he deserves it. Like, give it to him. He did all the little step up fights. He did the stay busy fights. His last fight, he just saved the ESPN card. It would have been nobody on that card. So I'm doing nobody on the
card. They would have nixed the entire card.
Thank you. I'm doing everything you want me to do. So can I get what what you guys promised me?
Yeah, because I mean, first, because the thing, well, they said that they wanted to get him there at the first card back after everything was shut down, because he was supposed to fight March 14th or whatever it was at Madison Square Garden, and that got nixed. So they said, we'll put you up there for June 9th. And they did that. And then, that card for, Burchell Valdez got, almost scrapped. So he said, let me go in there and I'll fight Toka Conclair. So, they need to, get him in there with those champs. Because, he was supposed to fight Valdez for the WBO featherweight title, but Valdez was like, nope, I'm not going to have any parts of that.
See, and that's another thing. Was it really Valdez, or was it Bob kind of like, oh, listen, no, not yet. Go fight, go fight someone.
Because Bob is quick to try to have fights that he feels would garner more interest than fights that should actually happen.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with him doing that early, but after a while, this whole marination thing, it's like, all right, now, come on now. Like, it's time. Like, we all understand, like, we get the time. Like, it's time to step it up now. But my thing is, Lomachenko doesn't have a fight. Lomachenko's coming off of shoulder surgery. I mean, we don't know if he's going to stay at 135. He said he wants to stay at 135, but you could fight Stevenson at 130, which is a better weight for you, as opposed to trying to fight these bigger guys that, you know, they clearly have a reach advantage on you at 135, and you taking a lot more punishment. So, and that's an in-house fight for Bob. I mean, 2 stars could be a passing of the torch kind of thing, you know. I honestly think, and listen, I'm gonna say this about Lomachenko. I love his style, but after he got put down and then lost, and then how he took the loss, well, put down by Linares, it kind of got exposed a little bit. But I'm just like thinking, like, is he really this good, or is he just a product of good matchmaking?
I think at this particular point, it may be a combination of both. Because, I mean, for me, he was very good, you know, kind of like at super featherweight, but he hadn't had that many fights at super featherweight. He didn't have that many fights at featherweight either. And it's like, okay, how good is he? Like, really, how good is he? If he hasn't really had, you know, those type of, you know, fights to say, okay, he's, you know, far and away the best fighter in that weight class because he's beating everybody in that weight class, you know? So, but this thing with lightweight, you know, I kind of like felt like it was kind of a stretch because he fought Linares and he got knocked down by Linares, good timing punch, and Linares has something behind him. And, you know, then he has, you know, another unification fight. Then he had that fight against Luke Campbell for the vacant WBC belt. And it's like, oh, we also had a fight with Anthony Crawler in the middle of that, which Crawler wasn't. I was like, come on. But, yeah.
That was Bob trying to get some money back. That's what that was.
Well, yeah, that was Bob and, you know, Eddie working together, man. So that was like an easy fix for both parties in that instance.
But even Eddie said after the Luke Campbell fight, he was like, you know, Lomachenko's a good fighter. He's not a star. I actually lost money off him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, like when they had that fight between him and Rigondeaux, that was supposed to be built as like, you know, the fight between 2 of the most skilled fighters in the sport. And that really didn't draw that many people at all because, you know, not that many people gravitate towards either fighter. So
can we be honest though? This is y'all had Rigondeaux, not saying you, but they had Rigondeaux come up 2 weight classes to fight this man. And they expected him to really put up that big of a fight. Like, I know you talking tough on Twitter and social media stuff, and it garnered interest as far as, you know, the casual fans. I was even calling for the fight, but I knew what was going to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then if you really think about it, is that Lomachenko's biggest win?
It could be.
Wow.
It's either that one or Linares.
That's
me kind of being biased because there is another win that's on his record that I didn't feel like it was a win, and that was against Gary Russell.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 fights that you could probably put up for Lomachenko. So people got to take their pick out of those 3.
So how old is Lomachenko right now?
What is he, like 30, 33, 34, something like that?
An old 34.
Might be.
You know, he stayed at amateur way too long. That's what I'm saying. He didn't have time to really get the marination. Oh, he's 32. But I'm just saying his past couple fights, he's had what, 2-3 surgeries?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? You taking 2 losses. You got knocked down one of them. Face got beat up, you know, a couple of them. It's just, dude, you're taking a lot more punishment and you're slowing down. So right now, in my mind, the smart thing for you to do to end your career within these next couple of years would be to go to 130 where you have the advantage. You're not fighting bigger guys that are going to mess you up and you're going to have to work even harder and get hurt.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, because he could be like 34 years old and not have 20 professional fights under his belt.
That's crazy.
He's at 16 fights right now. So if he's gonna have like a 2 fights a year type of thing, then yeah, he'll be 34 and he won't have but 20 fights, professional fights to his name.
I just don't like how they pick and choose. How when he came out from the amateurs, he got to get into an immediate title shot. Other guys have great amateur records too. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't get to, just based off your promoter, you don't get a belt given to you.
Yeah,
And not only, you lost and then came right back the next fight and got another title shot.
that was highly questionable to me. Because wait, I was gonna try to see if I could verify this thing because I think Salido wasn't, at the weight. So the way that they worked it was they kind of like kept Lomachenko up there to fight the highest ranked contender, which was Gary Russell. But even then, I just still feel like he shouldn't have got that other, titles like that title shot just immediately like that. So.
See what I'm saying? Meanwhile, other fighters, they have to work their way up. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't like how it's just favoritism, just based off of your promoter. Look how Devin Haney's getting treated by Bob Arum. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want Teofimo Lopez to fight him. And we're going to go into that as well. He doesn't want him to fight him. He even told Devin Haney, you signed with the wrong promoter. Like,
you signed with the wrong promoter. Why in the world did you sign with Eddie Hearn? No, that's not what it was. You just don't want Devin Haney to fight those guys that you had because he has already worked with Eddie Hearn on multiple occasions for multiple fights. We just had a couple of examples with Vasily Lomachenko against Luke Campbell and against, Anthony Crolla. And we had another instance where you had Jose Ramirez going up against Maurice Hooker. So if you can work with Eddie Hearn on those multiple occasions for that, how come you can't do it for Devin Haney?
Because he's a threat. He's going to take all the Teofimo's belts. That's exactly what it is. I told you, Bob, when he gets a belt, he holds on to it. He wants everything in-house. But then when you do it back to him, he's mad about it. He's calling people out in the media. He's acting crazy. Like, dude, you can dish it out but can't take it.
Yeah, but that to me is one thing. But I've said this, like, when it comes to him, he'll do cross-promotional fights or have fighters on there that are advised by other people as long as he feels like his fighter has a very good chance of winning that fight. But if it's anything close to 50-50, he's not really going to be inclined to do that.
Okay. And with that being said, Teofimo Lopez and his dad was recently on Mike Tyson's hot boxing with Mike Tyson the other day, right? And he came out, they actually FaceTimed Devin Haney and said, hey, since I most likely won't be getting the Cambosos fight, you're probably most likely to be my next opponent. Now, how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, that's basically what it works out for Teofimo Lopez because he ain't really got that many options left. Because he was really banking on that Cambosos fight, but with the whole thing about COVID and Australia ramping up the restrictions, he's like, what do I do? I can't, I ain't gonna be fighting Lomachenko again because they weren't talking about rematches because they thought that Lomachenko was gonna beat me, so I'm not going to do that. So the best fight that he can make right now is against Devin Haney.
Okay. I'm going to tell you why I think it's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, first of all, I feel like they already knew they probably weren't going to get that Cambosos fight due to COVID. You know what I'm saying? Because their cases are really low and they don't want people flying in and out. Number one. Number two, they know damn well Devin Haney he had 2 mandatories. One of Ryan Garcia, which ain't going to happen, and the other one was Javier Fortuna. They know that Javier Fortuna wants that fight. WBC mandated it. Now, it's all up to the WBC if they're gonna make that fight actually happen. Now, if Devin Haney comes to them like, "Hey, listen, we want to do undisputed, the real undisputed. Can you guys, give us permission to do it or whatever? Can I just, bypass my mandatory?" I guarantee you, they're gonna say no. You got to fight Fortuna, and that's Teofimo Lopez way out. For everybody asking what happened to that fight, like, oh, he had a mandatory, we couldn't make it happen, and he's gonna go fight somebody else. I'm telling you.
If the WBC does not make a fight between Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney, and they want to continue to recognize Teofimo Lopez as the WBC champion, then Devin Haney should either drop the belt or sue the WBC.
And his dad was talking about doing that too.
Yeah, because first off, the WBC initially didn't want to have Haney versus Campbell for the vacant title after it was vacated by Mikey Garcia. Then they went ahead and they approved that Lomachenko Campbell fight for that title, and they made Haney face Abdulayev, over in New York for the interim title or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to pull that off, number one. And then number two, because both of those fights were within a week or so of each other. And then after that, not soon after that, they elevated Lomachenko to WBC franchise champion. Not that long afterwards. So Haney was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to fight Vasyl Lomachenko, and it was supposed to be next because of the rules that you were talking about now with Devin Haney. It was supposed to apply to Vasyl Lomachenko, but they didn't want to do that, so they elevated him to franchise champion. That's why Lomachenko didn't have to have those 2 consecutive mandatory defenses, even though he fought Lopez in the unification where he could have been undisputed champion, but nope. They wanted to go ahead and have that particular fight where he wins against Luke Campbell, which they felt like he was going to win that, and then elevate him to franchise champion. So over the past year plus, how they've done Devin Haney, that's why they should go ahead and try to sue WBC, because Haney was supposed to have that opportunity to be the WBC champion, to fight Vasyl Lomachenko, and they were denied multiple times over, not just by Bob Arum, but by the WBC.
It's so disrespectful. I've never seen a dude get disrespected by the sanctioning body and then other fighters ducking him and then complaining about him not fighting anybody.
Yep.
And
my only gripe with Devin Haney was the whole thing between him and Gary Russell Jr. That was my only gripe. But when it came to fighters in his own division, they didn't want to fight him.
Whoa. What's the gripe about?
Because the thing with Devin Haney was he was trying to go off of the thing with Gary Russell when Gary Russell was talking about potentially fighting Terrence Crawford for $1.5 million. When initially they talked about fighting Gary Russell, but Gary Russell initially told him around $2 million or so.
Mm-hmm.
But after he said 1.5, Gary kind of agreed to that, but they were kind of, a little sketchy as far as like sending the contract, probably because they already had the defense against, Yuriorkis Gamboa already locked down. So that's kind of like how that went. But still,
I know all that. I'm just looking at everybody that's mad at Devin about it or mad at both fighters. Like, dude, once again, this is a Rigondeaux and Lomachenko situation. Y'all want Gary Russell to go from 126 to 135 to fight Devin Haney. And then when it doesn't happen, y'all are mad about it. Y'all know how this was going to go. It was going to be Mikey against Spence all over again. That's not a big fight. I mean, it's a big fight, but it's like we know who's going to win this fight.
Yeah,
Devin,
but there were a lot of people that were rooting for Gary Russell Jr. for that stuff. So, hey,
man, y'all need to stop, man. That was crazy, dude. I remember that whole situation. I
come
sat
on.
there, I was like, dude, this is not gonna happen.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but you know me, like it seems like outside of Showtime or what was his name, Brian Custer, it seems like I'm the person that had been interviewing Gary Russell Jr. the most times over that past year. So
Mm.
that was kind of crazy because if it wasn't for that like talk between him, Terrence Crawford, Devin Haney, and all of that stuff, you really don't like being honest. You really don't get that much, attention towards Gary Russell Jr.
You're right.
You really don't.
And that's what I'm all goes back. They need to learn how to market themselves. You can't just fight.
Yeah,
And I respect
yeah,
man, I got nothing but respect for Gary Russell, the whole Gary Russell family. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And Devin Haney, all that. Them boys that take the game serious, they want to fight the best. But I think they have an issue with the business of boxing and trying to understand it. And I
yeah,
have a problem with it as well. We all know how the business is going. We know this is all about when the money's right, then the fight's gonna happen. But sometimes we get impatient because we want the fights we want when we want them. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It's kind of like catch-22 with that.
Exactly. But to move on, this will be the final topic because I got some things I got to go handle. Canelo Alvarez. He's got a fight with Eardrum next month in Miami. They just made an announcement about him and Billy Joe Saunders coming to an agreement and it's officially done for May. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, kind of some difference a year makes. Like, what was it? Like I was out there at Texas for that Garcia Vargas fight, and some of the people there were, talking about, that Canelo Saunders fight happening. It was going to be May 2nd in Las Vegas, and
Mm-hmm.
then now happened. That all got shut down, and that was going to be a fight at middleweight. Now, fast forward, you have Canelo at super middleweight. You got Saunders at super middleweight. Canelo got a few titles now since he beat Callum Smith, and they gave him a WBC belt. And Billy Joe Saunders is the WBO super champ. So you have a unification fight that's ended up being a little bit bigger than what would have happened last year. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Saunders said, "Hey, I want to, I should have my shot. I mean, I should have been able to fight you last year, but couldn't. Now here we are. It's going to be a year later that it does happen. But still feel like Canelo's still going to win. So I just felt like that particular fight would have had a little bit more intrigue last year to me. But Saunders at 168, I'm not necessarily all too, sold on him at 168. So
Yeah, man, he hasn't looked good since David Lemieux fight. He looked great in that fight. He couldn't
yeah,
be touched. But ever since he was about to fight Andrade and got popped with that whole inhaler situation, he
yep.
went back, moved up to 68, and looked like He looked like an average fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So you already know I'm picking Canelo in probably 6. No, I'm gonna say 8. I'll give him 8. Body shots, slowing Billy Joe Saunders down, walking him down. You know what Canelo does. We all know what he's gonna do. I don't think
Yep.
Billy Joe Saunders has the pop to keep Canelo off of him.
I don't either. I don't think he has the pop, but I don't think he has the offensive activity to keep Canelo off of him.
Mm,
His footwork may be something to watch for, but I don't think it's going to be as effective against Canelo once they fight. So
I agree. Oh, this last thing, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up. Caleb Plant against Caleb Truex tomorrow night. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be just business as usual for Caleb Plant. Truex to me is, I mean, he's like, competed in the middleweight and super middleweight divisions, but right now I just don't see like him being that competitive against the Caleb Plant. I mean, he's had his fights, against James DeGale, against Peter Quillen, or whatever it is. But, outside of that, you really can't say that he's kind of like been, that guy at the top of the super middleweight division for a while. So I feel like with the overall abilities of Caleb Plant, he should be able to score, I would say an easy decision. I think, Truex will be, gritty in there, but he's not going to, really give Caleb Plant that many problems if Caleb Plant is, at the top of his game.
I agree. I think Caleb Plant's going to be sticking and moving. That man he's just slick, bro. I like Caleb Plant. I like him a lot. We know that the Benavidez wants that fight with Caleb Plant. Obviously, in my mind, I'm kind of over that fight. I mean, if it happens, cool, but I don't think it's going to happen. It might happen probably next year, but Benavidez, you can't even make weight. You got to make weight.
You got to make weight.
Yeah, it's your fault that Canelo's about to fight for your belt next month, man. You know what I'm saying? Can't get mad at anybody but yourself. You did it to yourself. You messed up that whole unification with Caleb Plant. And
now with this fight on Saturday, if Truex, like, if he feels like this is like his shot and that's it, he could really make a fight out of this. But I just don't feel like it's that type of like he'll be able to do it. He has the experience, but I just don't think that he has like the overall skill or ability to, keep up with Caleb Plant.
I agree. I mean, didn't he just tear his Achilles or something? He like recovered from it, and this is like his first fight back from that?
I think so. Well, he had the thing with well, he was like at the beginning. He fought at the beginning of 2020. So with Truex, so it's been his first fight in the whole year as well. So it pretty much had the same type of time gap between those fights that they're having against each other. So,
but I mean, damn, you still tear anything, you got to go through rehab and recover from it, and then you're fighting a guy that's very slick and uses a lot of movement. That's going to play a major factor.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. I think, it's gonna be. It should be. I'm just happy to have some kind of boxing. You know what I'm saying at this point right now. But if Caleb Plant wins, he's probably how these fighters fight maybe once, twice a year, except when you're Canelo. But he's rumored to possibly be getting Canelo in September if he gets past Billy Joe Saunders. So he's got to look good. I think he's got to look good in this fight. I'm looking forward to it. I hope he displays some power. You know what I'm saying? We know he's got the slickness. We know he's got the speed. Very defensive. I like him, but I need more power from him.
He does. Have to look a little bit impressive. He got a good amount of eyes. Watching him for that Vincent Figueroa's fight, and I feel like they had promoted this particular fight, fairly often as far as like Fox programming is concerned. Mm-hmm. So they think that they could, get an audience with Caleb Plant. So we'll see how he performs and how it looks as far as like ratings are concerned.
I mean, he did good numbers on FS1. His last fight was on Fox when he had it in Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I mean, I think he's gonna be good. I mean, good fighter, got the look. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Looking forward to it. But with that being said, good brother, we're gonna wrap this thing up. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you for coming on today. Y'all subscribe to the Boxing Source. Click the like button. Subscribe to the channel for all things boxing, man. I appreciate you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Whenever, just let me know whenever you need somebody to come on your show, you know what I'm saying? Chop it up with you.
Oh, not a problem, man.
All right, man. All right, I'm out.